Welcome to AI for You. Today's use case focuses on creating a daily AI learning habit through scheduled prompts. Many people I talk to in and out of higher ed ask me how they can develop their AI skills and where to start. Instead of approaching AI learning as a major project, try setting up an automated daily learning prompt. Using ChatGPT's task feature or any AI tool with scheduling capabilities, you can create a custom learning plan that delivers a new AI exploration exercise into your inbox every morning. The prompt in today's show notes will help you establish a personalized curriculum based on your role, current skill level, and learning goals. Each daily task should take 5 to 15 minutes and build progressively on previous skills, making sure that there's steady improvement without overwhelming your schedule. Today, we're talking with Erin Callahan, the Assistant Vice President of Strategic Marketing and Campaign Communications at NYU. We're talking about building AI literacy through personalized coaching, demonstrating how individual relationships and small wins can overcome institutional barriers, and many other topics. Let's jump in. Welcome to AI for You, the go-to podcast for higher ed professionals looking to integrate AI into their daily work. I'm your host, Brian Piper, the Director of Content Strategy and Assessment at the University of Rochester. Join me every other Thursday for practical uses of AI within higher education communications, marketing, and student engagement. We'll focus on ways to quickly integrate AI into your teams to increase your efficiency and effectiveness and help you optimize your workflows and processes. I'll interview experts and feature relevant use cases with the goal that every episode gives you at least one thing you can take away and start leveraging in your job today. AI for You is a part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. Well, Erin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate you having me.
So tell me a little bit about how you're integrating AI into your work at NYU.
So I have been really, really lucky. At NYU, I moved over into university development and alumni relations about 2.5 years ago. Prior, spent about 20 years in student affairs. So always sort of been outside of the classroom, always been in sort of marketing comms roles that had some sort of technology overlay. And we're always looking, obviously, to do more with less. So I have been very lucky that when I moved over into this new role, that the leadership that I'm working with just sort of immediately was intrigued by AI, intrigued by what it can do for our employees, and it was refreshing. So I know a lot of schools have issues with, is Central doing this? Is IT doing this? Who's going to do this? And we were very lucky that we just started locally. And I was sort of given the go-ahead to start doing some trainings and start doing some research. It's taken off. I think I told you we had a pretty good meeting with Amazon about a week and a half ago.
Right, that's huge.
So we were lucky when I approached our folks in Central IT to kind of let them know what we were doing on the local level. Local being, we have about 200 employees. So it's not a small shop, but it's small NYU with, 14,000 faculty and staff and 60,000 students. So when I approached Jen Sparrow, who is the AVP, one of the AVPs for IT, about what we were doing, I was just met with immediate oh, great. And a lot of times you go into IT and you don't know what you're going to get. And this was amazing. And she said, I need to introduce you to some people. And she introduced us to the AWS team who oversees sort of the higher ed integrations. And last week we were invited, we brought 15 staff members who kind of cover operations, alumni development, HR, finance, sort of all of the tranches. And we got to go and brainstorm, and we got to share what we want to take off our plates, what we are doing repetitively and repeatedly, and it's holding us up. And all of those things that we know sort of innately that are making our jobs harder or slower. And we got to articulate and start to brainstorm with them. So we are hoping that this will be sort of the entry into an AI first mentality of actually trying to flip our shop on its head and really look at how we use not just one tool, but how we use tools across the board to support our data and then to support obviously our front facing, our marketing and our comms and that sort of thing. So super exciting meeting. I'm really excited for this. So stay tuned, but hoping something good.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's the perfect way to kind of get things going at institutions. I think trying to just put down an edict from the top it's a difficult way to integrate any technology, any solution. So I think really starting small and finding those pilot projects and those like areas with the most opportunity for ROI, which is what all leadership is looking for.
Exactly.
And then you've got those case studies.
Right. And I think that's what's going to sort of move the needle. Coming from marketing comms, and you and I knew this 15 years ago, right? When we were kind of entering into social media and entering into that era, there's a lot of us who kind of took that journey together. And now here we are taking this one, that you do have to start somewhere and you have to just be able to jump in and start small and have a plan and inch away at it. But as you have those successes and those wins, you automatically get buy-in and people get curious and people want to know more. And that's really sort of my entire focus, is encouraging folks that this is something that's really positive. I know all of the negatives. We all know those, but this is something that we actually have a fundamental opportunity to change how we work. And I think a lot of us have been under-resourced. I think obviously with what's happening in higher ed right now, a lot of hiring freezes, a lot of different budget constraints, that this is an opportunity for us to be able to get back to thinking and go back to strategy and doing the things that we sort of did before COVID. And I feel like we've never had a chance to get back to. So I celebrate the successes all the time. And I love when my staff comes up and says, my kid showed me this and I got to show them how I use ChatGPT, right? Or my dad called and asked how to use it and I could tell him how, right? Or the other day I had somebody who was doing an assignment for a graduate class she's taking. And she said, I did this great deck and I'm really happy, but now I have to turn it into, I am a communications manager talking to a CEO of Disney. And I want to pitch my idea. And I said, have you talked to your friend Gemini or ChatGPT? She's like, I didn't know you could do that. Right. And we did little one-on-one lessons. And I think that's what's really, really different about the work that we're doing, is it's one-on-one. I have to have sat with at least 30 to 40 employees at this point and just sat down together and gone through different work scenarios. One of whom is our senior vice president, who sat 15 minutes a week, for 8 weeks. We sat down together to sort of get going. Again, I know there's a luxury to sort of have that leadership. It's not everywhere, but start little and show the wins. And I think that's really what's going to get higher ed to kind of wake up a bit more and jump on board.
Yeah, absolutely. And that individual understanding, I think, is so critical to being able to connect with this technology and not see it as a threat, but see it as an opportunity, see it as a collaborator. When you got started with AI, what was that like? What was your initial entry into using this technology?
It's funny. I feel like I've been using something forever, right? Like, I mean, natural curiosity. My dad's an engineer, right? Used to bring broken computers home from work, dot matrix printers, back in the day, and put them together, right? Like they were broken, he'd put them together. He and my brother got into the hardware stuff. But I think what I learned immediately was to not be afraid to break things. So from the software side, from web development back in, the 90s, kind of up through, Flash and all of those things, till now, I've never been afraid to sort of jump in. And my favorite thing is to try to break something or to try to use it in a different way. When Beautiful AI and these other AI before ChatGPT, before November, 30th, 2022, and that Gen AI sort of arising, right? I feel like I've been using AI in marketing and comms because it's low risk situations. We were all kind of exploring different things. You really can't mess up making something look pretty, right? So it was a very low risk and easy entry point. So when ChatGPT came along, of course, I was in it immediately. We'd been talking about it at NYU for about 6 to 9 months on the teaching and learning side, knowing it was coming, but we weren't talking about it on the productivity side. So for me, I wanted to know what I could get out of it, what my teams could get out of it, which were solely marketing and comms at that point. My student affairs, my larger team, right, who are doing everything from res life to career services to athletics. Where could they learn? And it's funny because that late 2022 and 2023 academic year, I was actually a little frustrated. Like it was cool at first, and I'm like, okay, this can do a lot of things, but the polish wasn't there, and I wasn't finding it. It was great for some things, but I kind of lost steam a little bit and got away from it. And it was really about maybe 9 to 10 months ago that I got back into, using ChatGPT regularly. And it's a horrible thing to say about an inanimate object, but it is a partner. And I think differently. There's not a thing I do during the day that I'm not considering, or even not even knowing that I'm considering using it. Right. So I think I'm on a very, very far side of easy adoption, and also just curiosity to see where this goes and to watch how these models are getting better and better. So for me, it was an easy jump.
Same for me. It was like a no-brainer. Why do you think it's so difficult in higher ed? What do you think are the biggest challenges that are facing higher ed institutions when it comes to adopting AI?
There's probably three things, and I don't think any of these will surprise anyone. But I think the way that we're siloed, particularly at larger institutions, or I'd say just about any institution at this point, right? Because you sort of have different layers of, teaching and learning. Then you have outside the classroom, but then you also have my office does this and we get funding here. My office does this. NYU, we have 15 schools, right? So each school has their own source of funding. They internally to figure out how to spend that, right? So it's hard to have oversight. And there's a lot of advantages to that. But when you're trying to do something that's large and trying to figure out how to have an enterprise anything at at this point, it's really, really tough. So I think the silos are tough. Expense obviously is tough, right? And I'm excited to sort of see this stuff democratized. And I think that will happen over the next year, at least with EDU, because I think the AI companies are seeing the value and the necessity, because they can't do anything without us. And they're going to lose 10 years of folks who are not excited about this if they don't get on board now. So I think we're going to start to see our employees able to access the paid Gemini version or the paid ChatGPT version, or take your pick, Claude, be able to access those. So, but expense right now is a big deal. Trying to pilot something for 1 year for my staff for 200 people, you're looking at $15,000, right? We don't have that. It's just not something we have. And I think the third thing is the teaching, like the learning part of this. Who is going to do the education and the literacy behind this? So it's one thing to give somebody a tool and say, go jump in the water, but that's not what we want. That's just going to lead to frustration. And honestly, how many times have you had a tool just dumped on you, right? The amount of times we pick a new tool and say, use this, it's going to solve all your problems. And it's not. It's another thing I have to take time out of my day to learn and adapt to and figure out where I'm going to use it in my flow and all those things. This has the ability, if we can get literacy right, and if we can, use external partners who are already doing this work so well, but they can kind of teach the teacher things, right? Like some of these companies come in and can start to educate folks across different areas, and then we can let this trickle down. Then I think that this adoption is going to go a lot better. That's what we need. Our employees are multi-generational, right? Every single one does a different task. So I think we really need somebody to come in and kind of, or homegrown, and teach from the beginning, so that this is not intimidating and not infuriating, and which we know these tools can be.
One of the things I say all the time is that AI is not a technology adoption project. It is a change management initiative. And in any change management, you have to educate before you distribute, before you make the change. I think another challenge in higher ed is that when it was first introduced, it came in as a way to cheat.
Correct.
So a lot of people still see it as cheating.
100%. And I think it's going to take a long time to get over that. I think that's one of the most recent realities that I've had. And there was an incredible article in the New Yorker by a Princeton professor within the past week about the humanities and AI. And he did such an incredible job, telling these stories through the eyes of his students and through his own eyes. And really made me sort of aware. And again, I've been out of the classroom, right? Like I'm over here in fundraising and alumni. So I'm even a little further removed than I typically am. But there's such a culture of fear, and that's fear of getting caught using something, and it's fear of being replaced or becoming redundant. And those are heavy things. I mean, 18 to 22 is not an easy time anyway. So I think we have really 4 years of students who had also gone through COVID, keep in mind, right? So the education that they have had has not been normal. And this is the first bump that they've had, right? This has been a really rocky road for these really persistent students. I mean, you have to really give them credit for the things that have happened during their time. But I worry about the 4 years of high school students right now and the 4 years of college students. We've had 8 years of folks who are more concerned, rightly so, with the environment, with bias and sort of social justice, with these large companies not wanting to give them more power. Very, very valid concerns. But they're going to be in trouble when the workforce shifts, and it's going to shift dramatically. I was about to say in the next 12 to 48 months, but really I think in the next 3 to 48 months, because this is already happening. And I see my folks as needing skills now. So I can't even imagine when the folks that we used to consider digital natives, as much as you hate the term, right? The folks that are supposed to know technology, be comfortable with technology and do those things. It's going to be hard enough right now in this economy with this jobs, with things changing over. And it really, really concerns me. And then behind them, you're going to have folks coming up who have been schooled in this for 8 years coming up behind them. And they're going to get out of college and they're going to be ready. I worry about that. I don't want to call it a lost generation, right? But it's kind of clicking with me that we need to hurry up and give them support. And part of that is exactly what you said. We need to stop calling this cheating. We need to stop calling this evil. We need to teach people how to learn in different ways. And we need, quite honestly, we need to understand that learning is not the same as it was 6 months ago. It's just not. I don't consider it cheating when I use ChatGPT to help me write. It's a partner. It's my work, right? At the end of the day, I'm going to take the ownership over anything in that, I guess is what I'm saying, right? I'm not going to go patent that work, nothing like that. Not even going to get into copywriting. But, this is a tool that I'm going to use over and over. And I think that's my biggest concern right now is making sure that we don't lose a generation of, incredible students who have a lot to offer the world and aren't going to have the tools to jump in.
I mean, any institution that's not teaching their students how to use these technologies and really integrate them in a way that creates this change, they're doing them a disservice. They're not preparing them for the workforce. So.
And then you have this small subset who are using them anyway, right?
Exactly.
So would you rather do this the right way and they get driver's ed, right? And before they get in the car? Or would you rather they just steal mom and dad's car? It's up to us. And that's not on them. That's really, on folks who are, leading institutions and who have the day-to-day interactions with our students and our alums.
Yeah. And probably those students are feeling guilty or sneaky or underhanded about using these technologies instead of feeling empowered and emboldened. So,
well, I'm a lifelong learner, and I've been doing a whole lot of the certificates in some ways, obviously to learn, but in other ways to see how folks are teaching AI across different things and many different institutions from NYU to Harvard to Berkeley Law to Oxford, right? Reading what they say about these classes. And we're getting the same thing that at least all of their online students are getting. I have to say, I'm taking an online class and I'm reading one of these and I'm saying, the class is about AI and you are like making me absolutely terrified to even open this while I'm taking this class. I'm a 50-year-old adult. Like I can't, how do you unwrap this? And where do you go to have questions or to question that authority or to push that limit? There isn't an AI guru at every institution. It's like, oh, I'll go to that office and figure this out. We can't figure out who's leading, right? And kind of really cool about that, right? Because nobody's leading because we're all in this together. But that's not cool to the people who need leadership and need guidance.
Yeah. And, speaking about that, there are a lot of institutions out there who have not started, who haven't even thought about creating guidelines or where are they going to start integrating. What advice do you have for those institutions, either for leaders in those institutions or for the staff in those institutions?
I'm going to skip the leaders, I think. And part of that is I do think that this is going to take a groundswell from the bottom up. And it's also going to take universities like the UCal system that is doing, integrated work across the whole. University of Adelaide, who is doing integrated work and offering AI courses to everyone, right? There are schools who are taking this on that I hope act as inspiration and also act as peer pressure, right? I hope that we're one of them, as we move forward here. For the people who are feeling like they don't know if they can start, The reality is you need to. And I really, there are free ChatGPT. You don't have to be on paid versions. I would love if you had $20 and didn't want to have 4 coffees next month to do it for 1 month, just to see the differences and to sort of really get yourself in depth. To me, it's the best $250 I spend in a year, and I'm never going back, right? And that's with other tools, right? I love Gemini. It's coming out. We're a Google school, but I have a little favoritism. It's kind of like my iPhone, right? I'm never getting rid of my Apple products. It's in there. So I think folks can go out and really start to use it in their personal life. If you're afraid to use it in your professional life. I remember, one of the talks that you were giving in October at Hyatt Web, right? Now Digital Consortium.
Collegium. Yep.
Collegium. I'll get that eventually. The DC, talking about how you do your dinners, right? Like how you're cooking for all of these kids, right? Yourself, your wife, all these things. But those are practical ways. And I remember early on, probably about a year and a half ago, a person named Beck Tench, who I met down at Duke at Hyatt Web 2006, 2007, right, is in library science. And she's now up at Harvard working on a lot of really cool things. She posted on her blog an entire thing about how she used ChatGPT to pack for a trip. But it was the first time that I watched somebody say, hey, and I told them to put it in the table. And I told them to do this. And I told them, and I'm like, wow. The light bulbs go off. And if you're using it outside of work, then you start to see where you can use it in work. Paul Reitzer's sort of formula, one of the things that he puts out there is like looking at 4 things in your work. I think, is something repetitive? Is it predictive? Is it generative, meaning can it be created? And, is it data driven, right? If you're doing those 4 things, it doesn't have to be all 4 of them, but we all cross over those boundaries. If it's crossing over 1 or 2, or it's highly repetitive, right? It's a perfect time to jump in and try, because the only thing you have to lose is, an hour up front of messing with it. But the time that I've saved, I have to be getting back, 15 to 20 hours a week right now. It doesn't mean I'm working less. It means that they're getting that many more, but that's great, right? And if we can do that for our employees, it's going to help the greater good. We're in higher ed for a reason. We're not all in corporates where we could be having different salaries and having different opportunities. We're here because we care about learning. We care about the next generation. We care about ultimately making this world a better place, I think. So I encourage anyone to just sit down. And if you have, kids who are already playing on it, play with them, right? Interact with them, see how they're using it. The dream of mine would be that there's a Twitch out there that I could watch you for a day and how you use it, right? And just know and see the prompts and then see how you iterate. So I think the prompt engineering is fascinating, right? I'll just call it prompting at this point, because I think the engineering is intimidating, like how you Google, right? We all put 10 people in a room, ask them to look up what was Amazon's best-selling item last year. You're going to get 10 different ways that people type into that Google search engine. ChatGPT or any of these, Gen AI tools, it's even more intense. And it's what you put in, but then it's the back and forth. And that's where it's really, really cool to see how other people get it to provide the information they're seeking, or get it to go down a different wormhole to learn something new, right? And I think both of those are benefits. But yeah, that would be my dream, is I could just watch. I have like 5 or 6 people, I'll throw Paul in there, I'll throw Ethan Mullick, I'll throw Mike, but like if I could have just a day of watching them work, I think we'd all be better for it, because you can learn. So get out there and start. Grab a buddy that you or a colleague, do it together if you can, right? But just make 15 minutes for it each day. Your boss isn't going to notice.
Yeah, absolutely. I set up a task in ChatGPT, so every day it prompts me with a new thing to learn, and it gives me like a homework assignment to do to start my day off. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, okay. It works out very well. Actually, that'll probably be my prompt for this episode. So we talked a lot about, you had some very interesting use cases there. What are some of the most innovative or effective implementations that you've seen, either in higher ed or businesses or in personal lives, that you have been like most surprised about, or
It's so funny. If you had asked this question 6 months ago, there were like the 2 or 3 things that popped out, right? And now I feel like every day I'm seeing somebody doing something new, and that's really, really exciting and really, really cool. I think one thing that just kind of the numbers really surprised me, and it's very relevant to what we're doing. But AWS worked with UCLA Business School. They were working with fundraising team. I'm not sure, kind of what that was, but they were using all of the data to really personalize emails. So we talk about this all the time in marketing, right? Like we need to segment, we need to personalize, we need to get the attention of folks that we're competing against everyone and everything. And they were able to even pull like professors' names, what classes they took, what dorm they were in, all of these different things, a lot of different methods, different AI methods, and tied it together. And these campaigns that went out to these folks, they actually it was a 63% increase, not in opens, in click-throughs. All right. And 130% increase in dollars raised from the campaign year over year. We got a lot of smart people out there, a lot of trends, a lot of people saying, we need to do these things, but I can't personalize everything because my data is not in order. And the risk of messing it up, right, kind of kills the reward if you're not careful and you're sending an email to the wrong Jane Doe. Not cool, right? But I thought this was a really neat thing to see that somebody succeeded. I think we've all thought about it, but to see somebody succeed. Athletics is one of the other places that I'm seeing a lot more use of this in college athletics. And our teams were Division III, but it's pretty exciting. We've had our women were number 1 in the country. Our men were, we're number 2 in the country. Our swimming and diving were 2 and 3 in the country. Cross country, like we've had a really successful year. A lot of that has to do with the transfer portal that you can now transfer from Division III to from Division I to Division III outside of your undergrad institution. So I know this is inside baseball for a lot of folks, but the bottom line is there's a transfer portal where you have 10,000 students who want to transfer to go do their graduate degree somewhere else. NYU has thousands of graduate degrees, and you get to live in New York City for 1 year, right? Like it's kind of a win-win. You might not want to be there at 18, but maybe at 23, this is the really cool thing. And you may want to work in New York afterwards, right? So we're attractive to a lot of folks for that reason. But trying to figure out in a limited window, who are the folks that have the academics, who have the finances, who can play, who are in the positions that you want, all of those things, it's really tough for a coach to kind of do that manually. And University of Pittsburgh actually put together an entire system that scans the 10,000 folks in the portal based on the criteria that they're looking for and gives them back whatever that is, that short list of 50 or 100. And I'm just like, again, never would have thought of it. But like the more you start hearing these things, you're like, okay, again, trying to take this much data and get it here. And like, that's what I keep looking at is anytime I'm seeing something with a lot of data or a lot of organization, I am partnering with my friend.
We know this technology is changing so fast and adapting very quickly. Where do you see this going I used to ask people 3 or 4 years, but that's just way too far out. In the next year or two, what do you think we're going to start seeing? How is this technology going to impact our jobs and our institutions?
I'm actually going to break out of higher ed a little bit because I think this is so big. And I think there are 2 schools of thought here. There's the people who don't think this is going to happen, and there's the people who know it's going to. Right. And I talk to my friends, and I have to say, there are a lot of people I talked to, for my law school class a year ago who said it's nothing. And I had dinner with them last week, and they're like, I'm using it every day. Oh my gosh. Oh my. And I'm like, cool. Because, lawyers, there's a lot of repetitive things. And guess what? A lot of it will be replaced. This is the thing I think that's going to be so different is this is fundamentally going to change the economy. It's going to change healthcare in a sense, right? It's going to change everything we do. It worries me that folks aren't grasping that. And it worries me that, on the federal level, right? We've got states who are trying to impose all of these regulations and these laws and say, you can't do that, right? Rather than education across the top of we need to be ready to be doing this. And I think markets are going to suffer. And I really think, again, just back to the psyche of folks, it's going to be weird. It's going to be really, really weird. I have a lot, former professor of mine who I adore, journalism professor. Every week I see complain on Facebook about why is this automated thing? I'm done with AI. I'm done with AI. I'm done with AI. I don't think he's ever used it. And if I could sit down with him for a half hour, I think he'd be like, I get it. Right. But we're not doing that. We're not getting the information to people in a way. And again, the cost is a factor right now. Free is free, but to a point. We're going very fast. I think in the next year, we'll see sort of the foundation models kind of slim down now and go down to maybe 3 or 4. I think the applications that are built on top of them, I think are going to balloon. Then I think it's going to kind of come back together, maybe in 24 months, that 24 to 36 month. I don't think we're even going to realize that they're applications. I think they're going to be built in, and we're going to be back to sort of, your iPhone's not a phone anymore. It's your whole device. But I think that's all going to happen that rapidly. I can't remember who said it, but there was a quote about maybe 5 to 10 years after AGI happens, this world will look different then to now than we do now to the 1500s. Again, believe it or not, right? Like, but this stuff's happening. So I don't know. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, and we talk so much about AI and focus so much on that, but if you look at some of the other adjacent technologies that are advancing at a pretty significant rate, robotics, AR, VR, bioengineering, we're going to be in a very different world in a few
100%.
years.
Yeah. And even like on the medicine side, right? Like there are going to be so many amazing things that can help us, but how are they going to be divvied out? Who's going to own them? What is that going to look like? US, we're lucky in this with the healthcare that we have. I mean, we may not feel that all the time, right? But we have access to a lot of things. I mean, Europe, others, but a lot of countries don't have that. So this, we need to make sure that we're looking across things and that the people who have the power to do so are investing in AI that really is going to help humanity, not just help, the powers that be and doing it for the money and to be richer and to do those things, but to hope that this doesn't really tilt the world on its head.
Yeah, I mean, I think AI has so much capability and potential to make the world a much better place, but it also could very easily.
But we're humans, Brian.
So, we are. I know.
So it's as good as we are, and might be better, but it's very interesting.
So one of the questions I always end with is, what specific AI use cases are most useful and helpful to you in your life, either personal or professional?
I still think the custom GPTs are still a thing. I keep thinking of new ways and other things to do. And this is kind of back to, again, my dream would be to be able to have a library of watching somebody else do these things. Like even the prompts, like, right, you read a LinkedIn post and they say this cool thing. And I'm like, just give me the prompt. I just want to see that nugget, right? I don't need to take it completely, but I want to see where you started, right? And again, I think that's a barrier to adoption, right? Is nobody wants to share everything. Fine. But the reality is, if you can do something really, really cool, does it hurt you if somebody else can too? Right? Like, and I hope that we can kind of start sharing that information, because again, with being able, and again, this is not on the free plan with ChatGPT. In Gemini, you can do gems, so kind of the same or a similar thing. But I think being able to customize your workflows for yourself, like I write a ton, and I ghostwrite quite a bit for other people, and being able to have help that knows, okay, I'm writing this for this person this day, this for this person this day, is huge. Just getting into the style guide thing, right? Like of importing all of our style guides so that we have our style guides in one place. And again, NYU is a very large, complex place, right? But how we write our times, AM, PM, capitalized, not capitalized, do they have dots, alumni versus alum versus alumna? Like these are things that we want to be consistent about. I mean, we're one brand, so we want to have that consistency, but we have turnover. Education has people who are growing or who are moving out, into different roles. So I feel like getting those together, the stuff that causes people to take an extra step in their work, and it's a pain, like they don't want to proofread this stuff, right? They don't care. And I don't blame them, right? It's a barrier to the work and the thought process and the genius that they have. So if we can have these tools that really they run it through and it gives them everything back, I think this is what we're hoping to do sort of with Amazon in a lot of different ways. I also think the other thing I'll say is the agentic stuff, take that how you will. Chain of thought reasoning and being able to natural language process, say, I'd like to send here I am talking to my friend, right? And I actually dictate because I can't keep up with my fingers. Like we're that good of friends at this point. But, saying I want to write an email that's going to all of the alumni who were at our Heights campus, who graduated between 1975 and 1979 and currently live outside of the US and have not attended an event in the past 5 years. And it says, here's your list. Would you like me to draft that email for you? And it's yes, right? And then you finesse that and say, would you like to send? And it's connected to Marketo or Emma or whatever server you use, and it's sent. And we're not far off from this. This should be, and again, it's going to be funding. It's going to be, will it be democratized, or will this be universities who choose to go all in and will pay off down the road? Or will this higher ed's left behind again, right? Healthcare starts doing it and we're left behind again because we can't get our act together, in a sense, because we're so complex and complicated. There's no blame there, but just that's sort of how we roll, right? That would change my life. Just the amount of hours that we're spending editing and doing these things. Like, I want to spend time connecting with our alumni and connecting them to one another and giving the pride of NYU, right? Like, that's what I want to spend my time doing, not editing emails and QAing or QCing lists time and time again, because is this the primary email? Hold on. It's like, all of these things. So
yeah,
that was not one. I'll just say that.
That was all good, though. It was all fantastic. Erin, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing your insights and your thoughts with the audience. If they want to stay in touch with you, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
LinkedIn, Erin Callahan, all one word, Callihan. Also, my email is erin.callahan@nyu.edu. And I think that's out very publicly, so you don't have to bleep that out.
Well, it is now. So
awesome.
Okay. Excellent.
And I welcome it. I again, I've gotten more out of this in the past 6 months, being able to geek out with you and Tina and Stephanie and folks across our network. It's motivated me and pushed me to get this work done at NYU, right? And I think we need colleagues who are really pushing the limits. So again, if you're trying to do that at your university and you have questions or just are looking where to start, I'm always happy to chat.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations, Brian, on your move.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good luck.
I could have kept this conversation going for at least another hour. Erin's approach to AI adoption at NYU offers a refreshing counterpoint to the often technology-focused discussions about AI implementation. And what really stands out is her emphasis on the human element, sitting down one-on-one with colleagues, addressing their specific needs, and then creating a supportive environment for experimentation. By starting with small, practical applications and celebrating wins, she demonstrates how institutions can build momentum without waiting for the perfect conditions or comprehensive policies. I really appreciated Erin's concern for students that are caught in that transition, who might be penalized for using AI while simultaneously being disadvantaged in the job market if they don't develop these skills. Her metaphor to driver's education highlights the responsibility that institutions have to provide structured, ethical guidance rather than just leaving students to navigate these tools on their own. The UCLA fundraising example, with its dramatic increases in engagement and donations, offers a compelling case study of AI's potential when it's applied strategically to institutional priorities. Please reach out to me with unique ways that you're integrating AI into your professional and personal lives. And as always, blue skies and keep creating. Thank you for listening to another episode of AI for You. I hope you found at least one useful thing you can take away and start adding to your workflows and processes today. Remember, the key to making the most of AI is to keep experimenting, keep learning, and of course, keep creating. AI for You is a part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to become a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed professionals find their next big idea and feature a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Artis Kadu, Day Kibbles, Shane Baglini, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.